So, on today's podcast, with the recent research revealing that so many people within the Great Resignation are looking to be a part of more meaningful work cultures and healthier cultures for their life and their work, we will discuss the 5-to-1 ratio that exists in healthy cultures. Keep listening to learn more. Welcome back to The Thermostat with Jason Barger. If you're currently on a commute, a walk, or just a micro break in your day, glad you're making time to step back, to think, and to reflect on the next steps on your journey. I've never been more convinced the best leaders and team cultures in the world are the ones that make time to step back, breathe in good oxygen, and calibrate their thermostat. I hope today's conversation leaves you feeling grounded and inspired. Now let's dive into today's topic to engage our minds and hearts in order to authentically lead and create compelling cultures wherever we are in the world. Hey everyone, it's Jason, and welcome back to the Thermostat Podcast. I am so excited that you are back and you are listening to the podcast again today. We are in Season 6 and continue to just grow and develop. We're close to 140 episodes, I believe, at this point. And so excited about the energy, the positive feedback that we're receiving, the growth of this podcast, and so excited that we continue to develop in these ways. So my promise to you, as always, is this will be a place for you to step back, for you to think, for you to be filled with some positive feelings and thoughts for you wherever you are on your journey and help you to take the next step forward. I am more convinced of this than ever that this is what's needed, certainly in all the work that I do with teams and organizations, and just my own observations, my own research, that we need authentic leadership in the world within our teams and organizations, compelling, influential, effective leadership, but we also need compelling cultures that are alive, are healthy, are bringing out the best in people. And we need to not only set that temperature, but also we have the opportunity to continue to breathe good oxygen into it. So anyway, so glad you're here. So glad we will continue this dialogue with each other. Before we start, if you will do me the quick favor of rating this podcast, 5 stars, of course, whether I like it or not. This is just what is asked of, required in the world that we live in today, is that we need ratings. So if you will leave a rating, that is super helpful. If you'll leave a nice review, authentically your own genuine words about episodes that have meant something to you, that's great. And then obviously anytime you share it with the people in your network, on your team, throughout your organization, people in your life, that's the way that these messages spread. So if you'll help us amplify the reach of this further, rating and reviewing and sharing is the best way to do that, and we thank you very much. So on today's podcast, with the recent research revealing that so many people within the Great Resignation are looking to be a part of more meaningful work cultures and healthier cultures for their life and their work, we will discuss the 5-to-1 ratio that exists in healthy cultures. Keep listening to learn more. Before we get into that, let's take a break. Let's pause for a second and be right back. Many teams and organizations right now are realizing that they need to do both. They need to engage the minds and hearts of their people in person, where everyone in the room can experience the energy of congregating together and find clarity for the road ahead. And they also need to continue to find ways to engage the minds and hearts of their people virtually, with those who are working remotely or at a distance. So, if you are in the process of planning your next team meeting, company all-hands event, conference, or culture summit, and are looking for support with a powerful keynote speech, facilitated team conversations that are the currency for change, or deeper development on leadership mindset and an intentional strategy for the culture you're trying to create, I hope you'll contact us at jasonvbarger.com, jasonvbarger.com. It is my privilege and our honor to partner with great people to provide support in these areas. We want to breathe oxygen into your leaders and throughout your organization so you can set the temperature you want for your culture. We look forward to connecting with you soon. All right, as we're diving into today's episode, the first thing I want to say before we get to the content is just a thank you to everybody. Again, a sincere thank you to everybody out there. We're still just a few weeks, past the launch of my new book, Breathing Oxygen, which with such wonderful surprise, excitement, that the topic is resonating with so many people. You've probably saw that the great, exciting news and surprising in many ways, but the Breathing Oxygen was the number one new release on Amazon in business and workplace culture and organizational learning and all those categories during the week of the launch. So exciting that the topic is resonating with so many people, that so many people out there are sharing this and want to be a part of Breathing Oxygen. So thank you for everybody out there. Excited that that continues to resonate and grow and spread, just as it's still getting out into the world and still being launched. So just wanted to start out today by saying a thank you to you, everybody out there, and also for the people that have already been reading it and sharing great feedback and the parts of it that resonate with you personally. That is so awesome and helpful to hear as the person that wrote it. So thank you. So on the last episode, we talked about triangulation and team communication. If you didn't hear that episode, I would strongly encourage you to go back and listen to it. We talked about the triangulation, the dynamic between person A, B, and C that happens in every group dynamic on the planet and how it relates to team communication. And we talked about the choice that we all make to either breathe oxygen into the flames in situations that occur in every group of humans and people and teams on the planet, or to choose to breathe oxygen into the people, into the person that you might be having a, needing to have a courageous conversation with, or a situation has arisen in your life or in your team. We know that right now in the world that we're in right now, again, leaders and employers are in positions to help welcome and create and invite others into healthy cultures that helps everyone learn and practice healthy habits from the beginning. So we know that leaders and employers right now in the world are just in a unique position. They always have been, but certainly with everything that's been happening in the world and with the Great Resignation and all that, we know the important role that we all play in helping to create welcoming environments, welcoming cultures, but also help to create them, intentionally create environments that invite other people into learning healthy habits and positive cultures that bring out the best in them, help them contribute their gifts to whatever your mission might be, and also so that we can be more effective and produce the kind of results that every team and organization needs. So this is just where we sit. And I'll remind us as we begin our conversation today that it's a two-way street, that it's not all just on the leaders and organizations, although we as leaders and organizations, we have to be as thoughtful as we've ever been, and we have to own that everything that's within our control, we have to intentionally create the culture and the environment that we want to help retain and attract and develop the kind of cultures that we want. So it is, we've got to own that as the leaders and as the employers. But we also know that it's a two-way street, and employees, anyone out there that is currently a part of a team or an organization or looking for one, I also want to remind you that it's up to you to either opt in or opt out. And certainly we know that many people in the world that have been opting out, thanks to all the research and study around the Great Resignation, people that have been opting out and looking for something different. We know that, and so you have that choice. But the healthiest cultures are obviously the ones in which both the employee and the employer are opting in. They're choosing to say, hey, I know this might not be perfect, but we are opting in to co-creating a culture of health and effectiveness for all. Not perfectly, but striving and intentionally, that this is something that we want to opt in and create together. And so on today, I want to talk about the 5-to-1 ratio. You've heard me reference this in the past. The Gottman Institute out in Seattle, they did this research that they found that the ratio is about 5-to-1. When you study healthy, positive relationships, let alone extract that out to teams or organizations, that one of the common themes in these healthy relationships or healthy teams, healthy cultures, is a 5-to-1 ratio 5 positive interactions to every negative interaction. Now, let me define first what I mean. Also, I'm putting some of my words into this research, but let me also make sure that we're speaking the same language, because I think distinction is really important. When I say the term positive, and you hear me talk about positive leadership on the cover of my new book, Breathing Oxygen, it uses that term, positive leadership. When I say that, I don't mean positive leadership is just, hey, everybody just quote unquote stay positive. And no matter what the challenges or obstacles we're facing, that we're just supposed to kind of turn a blind eye and just stay positive and just everything is puppy dogs and ice cream. That's not what I mean when I say positive leadership. And so when I'm talking about positive to negative interactions, the type of positive I'm talking about is an affirming interaction, an affirming behavior. And being positive isn't blindly ignoring the challenges or obstacles that we might be facing, but instead able to name them, recognize them, and then still choose to believe in a future that we are creating together, to be optimistic that we can find progress and move beyond it. That is being positive. That's positive leadership in the midst of challenge and obstacles. So I want us to hold that in front of us as we talk about this. But if healthy cultures and healthy teams and organizations have this 5-to-1 ratio, healthy relationships have this 5-to-1 ratio, then that means for every negative interaction we have, that they are surrounded by 5 positive interactions, which means, simply put, that we earn the right, we create an environment, a culture around us of such affirmation and positive, catching ourselves doing things well and celebrating and recognizing the positive things that are around us, therefore earning the right to then also be able to point out, hey, here's something that we think we could improve on. Here's an opportunity for us to grow or develop. Here's where we see progress. And so what the research finds is that relationships that make it, and in fact, the Gottman Institute research, in a fascinating way, they just by watching couples, talk to each other and just observe the way they interact with each other, that with a high level of predictability, they were able to predict which couples would make it and which would fizzle out and which would explode, just based on watching the ratio of positive to negative interactions that they watched them over time. And so we know that a common and an important theme in healthy organizations, healthy relationships, healthy teams is this 5-to-1 ratio. In unhealthy teams, unhealthy organizations, unhealthy relationships, what they found was the ratio is about 0.8 to 1, which means there's actually more negative interactions than there actually are positive. And so one of the questions that it brings up is, are we committed to progress in the relationship or the team or the organization, or are we more interested in, quote-unquote, winning the argument or winning the debate? Doug Smith, another person that I follow and think does great work, part of White Pine Mountain, he gave us the great precision to language. In fact, I did a podcast about this earlier, if you want to look back, talking about the difference between discussion and dialogue. I loved the way Doug described this, because he talked about the difference between just the roots of those words. The word discuss at its root actually means to smash apart. To smash apart, or talk about, and again, you can listen to the longer podcast if you want, where I go into greater depth about this. But really, at the root, the word discuss means to smash apart or to quote unquote win the debate. And yet the word dialogue actually means meaning flowing through. And so the difference between a discussion where people are kind of aiming to win the debate, their point of view, kind of smash things apart, and is more of a debate style, and yet a dialogue is where the interest and the purpose is more creating a pool of shared meaning, where together different points of view come together to say, what would progress look like? And so I love that distinction of thinking about, do we show up to every table, every interaction, every conversation, do we come out of a spirit of discussion where we're there to win and our idea, we're gonna kind of debate our idea, or are we there out of a spirit of dialogue where the purpose is progress? And it's not about winning the debate, but it's about, can we find a pool of shared meaning together? Leaders who understand this and teams and organizations that are committed to helping their people kind of breathe better, breathe in this good oxygen, breathe in more healthy, positive interactions to negative, to earn the right, again, to be able to it doesn't mean we ignore or don't point out the negative or the opportunities for improvement, but it means that we get better at recognizing all the positive, wonderful things that are happening around us, so that then when we do need to breathe and have courageous conversations, we're able to do it in such a way and have earned the right to do it. So not only does this help create an environment that's healthier for everyone and helps the relationship actually last, but it also helps our performance expand. These leaders, these teams, these organizations realize they need to be continuously in the business of helping people breathe better, to improve the sight lines of everybody so we know what the expectations might be, and then also to really be infusing and recognizing and rewarding the positive interactions that we have. Healthy cultures aren't just something that naturally happens. Like anything, we have to teach it. We have to create an environment for it to grow and develop. You've heard me talk about in culture shaping that what we allow lingers. The things that we allow to happen, the behaviors, the operations, the language we use, the structures, the processes that we allow that are counter to the culture that we want, they tend to linger. And yet the things that we teach, when we identify those things and we know there's something we need to be teaching differently, when we get better at teaching new habits, new language, new operations, new practices, it triggers a different, more positive chain reaction. We model it, we practice it, we develop it, and then we rinse and repeat. And eventually, it just becomes, this is how we do it. This is the healthy culture that we expect, because that's the air that we breathe, that we practice this with each other, the 5-to-1 ratio of healthy interactions, so that when it's time to have a challenging conversation, we're ready to have it. Because it becomes that way because of the countless intentional actions along the way that shows people this is how we breathe, this is how we move, this is the temperature that we set, this is how we communicate in this relationship, on this team, in this organization. So as always, this week I want to leave you with some teaser questions for you to ponder. What is the ratio of positive to negative in your relationships, in your team, in your culture? What is the intentional strategy to help onboard or reset your people right now into the culture that you want to be creating? And what does your team need to practice and breathe next? I hope those questions serve you on the next stretch of your journey, or wherever you are this week, wherever you are listening to this. The last thing I'll leave you with is that many people have asked, how do we continue to help with the launch of the book and continue to share as we're in the first few weeks of Breathing Oxygen being launched? I'll just share quickly a couple of things if you're one of the people out there that still wants to help. One, order the book and read it. You can get it on Amazon, at Amplify. You can go to Jason V. Barger, Barnes & Noble, wherever you get books, you can get it. But read it. Not just get it, read it. Join the conversation and allow yourself to breathe in some good oxygen for yourself, but also to breathe in oxygen to the people that are around you. So order the book, and read it. Another way that you can help is to share it. And I say this if and only if this resonates with you and you think this message or this spirit adds value to the world and makes a positive contribution to other people or other teams, organizations, then I invite you to share the book. Get copies and share them with the people in your life or on your team or in your work, whatever unique ways it is for you to share about this, whether that's on social media or throughout your networks. And then the third thing I would say is reviews. Whether I like it or not, we live in a world where ratings and reviews mean so much to whether people can find and also recommend a product or service. So thank you for anyone that takes the time to leave a 5-star review, hopefully, whatever that is for you on Amazon or on the platform that you use to purchase it. Thank you for everybody that takes that time. If you've got other ideas on how you can help with the launch in some unique way, email us, info@jasonvbarger.com, and we can talk more about any ideas you have to help amplify these messages further in the world. That's awesome. So let's all breathe in appreciation and gratitude for all that is within our control. Now is the time for us to infuse this kind of positive leadership and impact into the culture of the people around us, into our teams and our own journey, which gives energy to us all. So let's calibrate that thermostat for our own awareness and then also our response and behaviors in the world around us. None of us are perfect, but if we don't even know what is the temperature we're trying to set, and we aren't committed to kind of breathing in oxygen that will help us set it, then why would we be surprised when it doesn't exist? So I hope you'll keep tuning in. I hope this continues to be a place that helps you kind of set the temperature for your life and work and breathe in good oxygen. There's many other great episodes and topics that are coming soon. But remember, the best leaders, teams, and cultures on the planet stimulate progress by recalibrating their thermostat together and then choosing to breathe in good oxygen. Thank you for listening to today's podcast, and I hope the messages and questions stimulate positive change along your path. As always, if these messages resonate with you and add value to your life, I hope you'll help amplify them throughout the world. Please rate, comment, and share on whatever podcast or social media platform you're using, and share this podcast with the people in your life or work who should be part of these conversations. That way, this spirit does, in fact, spread. If these messages or developing leaders and culture would be helpful to you and your organization, please contact us at jasonvbarger.com, jasonvbarger.com. And remember, we are all ambassadors for the culture we want to create in our life and work. We have to own the vision we want to be a part of. The future of leadership is you, is me, is us. Be a thermostat.